Plenty of political instability on both sides of the Rhine. The German Chancellor this Monday falling on his own sword. Olaf Scholz deciding now is the time to pull the trigger and stage a vote of no confidence, which, as expected, he lost. That sets the stage for snap elections, most probably on February the 23rd. Let's go to Berlin and France 24 correspondent Nick Holdsworth, who joins the conversation. I don't know if body language matters or not, but Scholz seemed kind of chipper during that vote and afterwards when he sat down with President Frank-Walter Steinmeier.
Well, absolutely. This is precisely what Olaf Scholz wanted. He wanted the vote of confidence to be a vote of no confidence so that he could go to Frank-Walter Steinmeier, the German president, and ask him to dissolve the parliament, the Bundestag, and call new elections. I mean, Scholz has been in a very difficult position. Some may say it's partially of his own making, but when Christian Lindner, his finance minister from the Free Democrat Party, walked out of the coalition November the 6th, the same day that Trump was re-elected for a second term in America, the entire political landscape here has been a complete mess since then. The traffic light, so-called traffic light coalition of three parties, down to two, the Greens and the Social Democrats, can't get anything passed, can't do anything. I mean, everything's set in this sort of mud at the moment. They can't even pass a budget. And even if those elections are run on the 23rd of February, and if those elections result pretty swiftly in a new government, and it's again likely to be a coalition, there won't be a federal budget in Germany until July at the earliest. Now, that's not going to cause problems for pensioners and people like that getting their state money. It's going to cause problems for any German company or concern that receives money from the state, because they can only receive up to 45% of what's been pledged in the previous budget. So we're going to have a period of turmoil. Now, Scholz, I think, is looking forward to re-engaging in politics. I mean, if you saw the debate today, I mean, his prize moment was wagging his finger at his former finance minister, Christian Lindner, accusing him of moral immaturity. And again, the odds-on favourite to be the next chancellor, not Scholz, but the leader of the centre-right SDU, Friedrich Merz, he's also pleased because he sees this as a chance to set out policies so that Germans have a clear understanding of what the differences are in the Bundestag and can make their choice. So both of the two main leaders of the two biggest parties are pleased with the results. And at the same time, we may not actually know precisely if that election is going to be called for the 23rd of February until after the Christmas holidays, because the German president, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, said these decisions aren't up to the daily beat of politics or the media. These are up to the rules of the German constitution, and I'll think about this and I'll announce my decision after the Christmas holidays. So for the moment, there's kind of this phony war. We're waiting now to know whether we're going to have those elections in February.
It's interesting because from what you're saying, both Olaf Scholz from the center-left and Friedrich Merz from the center-right trying to stake out the middle ground. There had been rumors when the day began, Nick, that the far-right AfD party might vote against the motion in a bid to throw Scholz off his game. That did not materialize, though.
No, that didn't. They had said that they might vote with Scholz's party, the Social Democrats, which is why the Greens said that they were going to abstain. In the end, the AfD just did a volte-face and voted against Scholz as well. The results were quite clear. It was 204 votes to keep Scholz in power and nearly 400 to boot him out and have new elections. The AfD, of course, when it comes to the campaign, they are a wild card. They're polling at the moment 20%, which is 3 percentage points ahead of the Social Democrats, Scholz's party, polling at around 17%, And the book is favourite, the CDU-CSU coalition led by Friedrich Merz, polling at 31%. But whoever actually gets the largest proportion of the votes is almost certainly not going to have a majority. We're going to have another coalition run in Germany come the spring.
Nick Holdsworth reporting live from Berlin. Thanks so much for that. And joining our conversation now, please, as always, to welcome Elisabeth Humbert-Dorfmüller, co-president of the Paris branch, or the international branch of Olaf Scholz SPD party. Thanks for being with us. Lots to unpack, including what we just heard about budget problems on both sides of the Rhine. Let's begin, though, with Olaf Scholz being so chipper when he's polling behind the AfD.
He was like that in 21 too. I mean, nobody thought in the beginning of 21 that he would win the election, and he won the election. That was because the candidate of the right, of the Christian Democrats, was very bad. This time, the candidate of the Christian Democrat, I don't think he's popular. He's not popular, but he might win. It looks like he will win next February. The journalist we just heard says that there's going to be again a coalition, but this is Germany. It's always been coalitions. There was only once a mandate from Konrad Adenauer, who in 4 years, where he did rule alone without a coalition. Between 49 and now, we have always had coalitions. So this is the German way of democracy. Mm.
And the German way of democracy, this is the big difference with France, includes that it's only the Chancellor who can call the vote of no confidence.
He can do that. He can do that.
But but the parliamentarians themselves can't do it.
Yes, that's true. That's part of the constitution. I mean, it's a rare tool, I have to say. It has not been so much utilized yet. It has been 4 or 5 times since 1949. So it's not a tool somebody will want to govern with or wants to threaten with something. It's very rarely used. Last time it was used, it was Chancellor Schröder who used it in 2005, who thought he could win after that. He didn't. And in both cases, Schröder in 2005 and Scholz now, they are in a position where the situation of the country is very difficult. Schröder still had his majority, though, in 2005. Scholz doesn't have a majority anymore, as you know, because the Liberal Party left. So he's a very confident person, Scholz. So he thinks he can win. It's against the odds, really.
So let's cut to the chase here, Elisabeth. Which is a bigger mess right now? France with its budget problems, or Germany with its budget problems?
It's a very good question. I mean, these two countries, you can really compare them in many respects. But I think the main problem in both cases stems from the Ukrainian war. I mean, it was in 22 that the war in Ukraine started, and that Macron did not, a few months later, get his majority in the parliament, which he would have wanted to get, of course. Because of what? Because of inflation, because of instability. So France was very affected. Germany was even more affected because it's a much more industrialized country. So industry in Germany right now is suffering a lot. Energy prices. Germany is really losing its momentum here, its industrial momentum. Recession in 24 and in 23 in Germany, one of the only biggest countries in the world who has experienced recession. It's linked to the Ukrainian war. So I would say you can compare them both. They have different political systems, they have different majorities, but I think the problem stems from the same origin, unfortunately.
Marc Perelman, the problem in France, can you trace it to Ukraine to a large degree?
I mean, to some degree. I wouldn't say you can all trace to Ukraine. I think Macron has his self-inflicted wounds because clearly he thought that he could, after he was reelected in 2022, which was a historical performance, he didn't campaign really for the ensuing legislative elections. Kind of thought, it would happen, he would get a majority again, and this is where the problem started. He only had a relative majority. But if you compare to the mess he has since created by calling those snap elections last summer, now there's no majority anymore. So even a relative majority now seems a luxury. Yes, they had a problem, but they could pass legislation. Now, France finds itself in really a crisis, a political crisis, because there's no majority and we're far from a majority. All the 3 blocs are far away from the 289 seat majority in the National Assembly. So yes, obviously there are external factors, but there are also internal factors, political factors. The national rally keeping the momentum, a leftist coalition that was able to form and challenge Emmanuel Macron's hope that he would really build a centrist central party, and this hope has vanished.
So a splintering of of politics here in France. Elisabeth Humbert-Dorfmüller, your thoughts? Marine Le Pen, because she has the largest political bloc, as Marc was saying, the largest party in Parliament. She was the first one this morning to go to see the Prime Minister. There's a sort of legitimization of the far right. Again, how far do you push the comparisons between France and Germany when it comes to that?
It's the same development, really. I mean, the Le Pens have been very present in French politics since the 80s, so it stems from a very long time ago. That was not the case in Germany. In Germany, it started with the Euro crisis, so in the 2007, 8s, 9s, when this party, AfD, really got more and more popular. So now they have a little bit changed. They're even more far right than they used to be. Okay, so they have some fascists and even sometimes neo-Nazi, characteristics. Sometimes, I'm not saying all of them, but they are very, very far right, much far righter than Le Pen's.
More far right.
Yes, yes, definitely. I mean, Jean-Marie Le Pen was a different thing, but now if you compare with Marine Le Pen, it has nothing to do anymore with it. By the way, they're not sitting in the same parliamentary group in the European Parliament anymore. And even on economic issues, they totally diverge. I mean, AfD is not only very far right on this society issues, politically also, but economically it's very liberal. So it's the classical far right who they don't really want to help the poor people. I mean, that's not their point.
One final question. You mentioned the war in Ukraine having an impact on inflation and the such. Friedrich Merz, much more hawkish than Olaf Scholz. Is that a winning posture?
To win the elections? That's a very good question because I'm uncertain about it. Okay, so the supporting Ukraine is popular in Germany. I mean, I don't know, 70% of the Germans think it's good, very good to support Ukraine. But a majority of the Germans also thought that the way Scholz handled this was the right way. The way to be careful, not to send all possible defense material to Ukraine, no defense material which goes into Russia. So Scholz Germany is the second biggest contributor to the Ukrainian war after the United States. So Germany does a lot of helping. But Scholz has always been extremely cautious, whereas Merz, as you say, is hawkish and wants to put as much as possible into this, let's say, subject. And this is probably not going to prove very popular. So he has probably to scale down this a little bit in order to win the election.
There's a prediction. And of course, in between, we'll have the inauguration of Donald Trump. Elisabeth Humbert-Dorfmüller, I want to thank you. I want to thank as well our politics editor, Marc Perelman. Thank you. Stay with us. Much more to come here on France 24. More news, plus today's business and sports.